Welcome back. We are going to look at creating an image gallery in this video. Calling this a beginner image gallery because it focuses solely on PHP and HTML. There's no JavaScript in this one. There's no plugins in this one, which is why I've termed it a beginner. The important thing is for you to understand what to do with the PHP before you begin interspersing JavaScript with it. So I'm hoping that this one will give you a good idea of how you need to use the PHP. So here's our finished solution that we're going to go through. This is all of my images. I went to Google Images and just downloaded images. Here are my categories that I have. They're the same ones that we've used in assignment 8. So if I choose accessories, this will refresh with just those that are listed in accessories. If I choose fixtures, to refresh again. I've got my scrolling over here. This is just a div with overflow set to auto. Furniture. And finally, household items. And we've also put on some links here for each one of them for view, edit, and delete. This video does not go into what we do once this link is clicked, but it does build the link. If you look at the very bottom there where it says the link and at the end is $ID equals household items 1.jpg. And then when you mouse over the delete, it'll be delete image.php ID equals household items 1.jpg. And this one was edit image.php, and this one was view image.php. For what to do after these links are created, we've already got a video on that. That's the assignment 5, converting to query strings. That's what this is, converting to or using query strings. So assignment 5 actually, the query strings version of it does edit and delete after we've already built these. So let's move forward with this image gallery. We've got quite a bit of setup work, and then the actual creation of this page doesn't take as long. So the first thing we want to do is set up a few things that we need. Once again, I'm working on my desktop, so I've got a desktop folder here with a folder called Image Gallery. Then over here on the web server, I've got a folder called Image Gallery, but I'm going to go back to our previous video where we created I must not have saved it there, where we created our database. And I'm going to copy that and I'm going to put it into this here. So we in Notepad, you'll remember we created a couple of tables. So we're going to use this again. I'm going to make this one separate from the last assignment. So we're going to create a couple of new tables. And what I'm going to do is instead of assign 08 category, I'm going to call it gallery category. And instead of assign 08 image, I'm going to call it gallery image. So I've got gallery category and gallery image. And then these 4 right here need to be changed to be gallery category. We're going to keep the same information there. We're not going to redo that. So now I've got the same structure. I haven't changed that at all. The same information over here, but just make sure that your table names gallery category, gallery image, and then these 4 are gallery category. And I'll do a file save. So that'll be saved into my image gallery here. You'll come to phpMyAdmin and log in. You'll need to choose your database. Now I've already created these and populated these, but there might be another database I could do it in just for the video's sake. But you need to run that script. So what you'll do is click on the SQL tab. This is after you have after you've chosen your database. It won't work otherwise. And you'll do a Control A and a Control C to copy it. You'll come over here in the SQL space, Control V to paste it, and then you'll hit Go. When you hit Go, it will create these two tables that are over here. So let's see, I'm going to choose a different database just for this exercise. I'm going to paste it, hit Go. You'll see that you should get everything worked fine, and then in the database you should get these two. And if you click on Gallery Category, you should see these four. They should be there. So I just added those. So I'm not going to use those in this database. I'll come back and remove those later. I'm going to use my database over here. Again, my gallery category. I've got those same things, accessories through household items there. And I've already done the image population part, and that's the next part we're going to look at. So the next thing that we need is we want to come to, again, our image upload. This will, if you already have images, then you can skip this part. But what I want you to have is a thumbnail directory with thumbnail size images, and we are going to use the db upload resize and do db upload resize from the image upload video. So if you haven't watched that video, you should probably get caught up on that. We've got, and for that matter, we need the includes folder. So from the assignment 8 video, I'm going to grab includes, mid thumb upload, db upload resize, and do db upload resize. I'm going to copy those, and I'm going to come over here to my desktop, and I'm going to paste those into place. I should have looked to see if there was anything in those image folders, so it wouldn't take so long. If any of this looks like it's going to take very long, you'll see me pop up the control screen, and I'll pause the screen while it's uploading, so it's not part of the video. Okay, so those have copied over, and that was my problem. I'm just going to delete these. We don't need these images. Unless you have, if those are the images that you're going to use. I have quite a few images. You saw there's in each one of those categories, 4 categories, there's at least 10 images. So there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 or so images that I'm using. Now those same things I also want to make sure I have on the server. So I'm going to come back to my image gallery folder, which currently has nothing in it. And I'm going to make sure I have a copy on the server to start with. And then once again, we're going to have to set permissions on the mid, thumb, and upload directory. I'm going to do one of them, and then I'm going to pause the video because that was covered in the image upload videos, so I don't need to spend as much time doing that. But I'll do one as a refresher. So I'll start with, again, you need to do this folder, and this folder. I'll start with the top one here, mid, right-click properties. And again, it's easiest if you do this from a Windows machine. If you are using a Mac, step into any number of labs on campus, log in. It'll only take you about 5 minutes and do it from there. So once properties comes up, security tab, edit, IUSR, modify permissions, apply. I guess I didn't have to hit apply right there, but it hid it from me. And then IIS underscore IUSRS, modify. And I'm just going to make sure that both of them say modify, and they do. And I'll hit OK. OK again. And you need to do that for these other two as well. Once all three of those are have properties set, the next thing we're going to look at is modifying these two files. So let's bring up Dreamweaver. And I'm going to work off of my desktop here because it'll be faster. So, and once I get to a point where I want to upload it, then I'll just drag and drop it, push it up to the server. So within here, the DB upload resize, wherever it says assign 08 category or assign 08 image, we need to change that to gallery. So I'm on, for me it's line 39 here, but it's from gallery category. And if I scroll down here, that may be the only one here. And so I'll save that file. Now I'm on do DB upload resize. So up towards the top, I've got replace that, assign 08 with gallery. So I have gallery image there. It will probably be all lowercase because MySQL has a tendency to drop your capital letters for table names. Come down here, I've got assign 08 image, which I'll change to gallery image there. And just one more glance. I think those are the only two places. Make sure I haven't missed one. So I'll save that file. We're going to come back to DB upload resize here. This menu we're not using. So this includes menu. I'm going to delete that out of there. I'm going to save that file. And now we're going to use these files and and actually upload, a bunch of images. So I've edited these two files on my desktop. I'm going to push them up to the server. Now that they're up there, my folder is image gallery that I'm in, and the file I'm looking for is db upload resize.php. And so we're back to that assignment 8, but it's pointing to different database tables than assignment 8. So now what I did, and again, you may already have your images. If so, you can fast forward through this part. But I went to Google Images and I typed in furniture accessories and downloaded about, I don't know, 10 or 12 images. When you download the images, make sure they're at least like 700 pixels. Bigger is better, because the smallest resize is 600 pixels wide. So you're going to want to pick something that's at least 700, so that the mid gets resized and the thumb gets resized. If you pick something that's only 350 pixels to start, that's smaller than your mid-sized image is getting resized to. So you want to pick something that's a higher resolution. So all of mine were, I wouldn't say all of them, they were all definitely 700 or bigger. Many of them were bigger than 1024. And then I typed in fixtures, I typed in furniture, and I typed in household items, and for each one of those I downloaded 10 to 12 items. And then I had all of those in folders, and once I had those in folders, then I went in and uploaded those. So I have my folders here. These are all the images I downloaded, again, from Google Images. Fixtures, furniture, household items. And then I just made my way through here. So if I was working on furniture, I'd move to my furniture folder, and I'd go through one by one, add my description of whatever it is. You'll actually want to type something though, and hit upload file. And I did that for each one of these. So if there was 12 in each, there'd be 48 times that I did this, changing the category each time. And after that was done, I had after that was done, I had them resized into upload, thumb, and mid. See if I stuck them in here. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, they're in a different folder entirely. Now I happen to be clicking on Lab10, but that may change. It should probably be called Image Gallery instead. So here I've got mid-size accessories 1 through 11, fixtures 1 through furniture, household items. If I come out and go to thumbnails, the thumbnails are what we are going to be using in this exercise, because we don't want to be resizing large images. So I've got my th underscores, accessories, fixtures, furnitures, household items. So that's what you need to do, and so that you have your full size, your mid size, and your thumbnail size. Use what we created to resize those images and get them into your folders. So I've gotten all of my files uploaded here. So if I go to my mid directory, again, I'm on the server in my image gallery folder. This is the mid size. So here's all of them. I had a couple problems with a couple of images. See if I can find them real quick. You'll see a skip in numbering in a couple places. So the furniture 8 is missing there, and I just wound up deleting it from the database. And 4 is missing here. I wound up deleting it from the database. So if you find that as you're doing this an image doesn't load for some reason, there might have been a problem with the file to begin with. And so what I've done is, if we come back here to the database and we choose gallery image, you should have, I've got 47 rows here. And as I go down through here, you'll see accessories 1, and then it goes 10, 11, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 through 9. and then fixtures, and then furniture. I'll go to the next page, finishes out furniture, and there's household items. So you should, your gallery image table should look something like that, except you should probably have a better description than what I have. And again, your category has these four. So once you are at this point, now we can start looking at the PHP. This was all the setup work. You've got a folder on the web server. You've got mid, thumb, and upload directories. You've set the permissions on those to modify. You've used these two files. We're going to create a new one now. You've created the database, and you've got that database populated like I just showed. And you've got the include files that we've been using, open and close dbcon. And so now it's time to actually start looking at creating this page here. So let's go ahead and come back to Dreamweaver. And for this one, we're gonna start with a new file, but I'll open up one of the other files and copy out a piece that we don't necessarily have to duplicate. We'll start with the HTML, and then we'll do the CSS, and then we'll do the PHP. So this I'm going to call image gallery beginner. Excuse me. So in here, we're just going to do some setup. There's not a terrible lot, but there is some to get done. So inside the body, we're going to do our first div, ID equals nav, and then we'll close that one down below. Inside of that div with ID equals nav, we're going to put an h1. And again, inside of there, we're going to put that image gallery. Beginner. Below that, we're going to do another div. This one's going to have ID equal to cats for categories. And to help us out here, I'm going to put a couple of HTML comments. That'll help us keep our divs lined up. If you're using one of the newer packages, it'll also highlight for you. It's one of the main reasons that I ask you to use Dreamweaver in class. So again, cats is for categories there. Inside of that, we're going to have a form. I'll use my ID of form 0. The action is going to submit back to itself. So this page is going to be called img gallery underscore beginner.php. The method is going to be post. And let's go ahead and save this. And we want to put this onto our desktop, into our image gallery folder. And we're going to save it right here next to these other PHPs. And again, it's going to be called img gallery underscore beginner dot php. So now I've got it saved there. Inside of the form, we'll have a label, ID of categories, for, we're going to call it cat dropdown. So there's my open and close label. And then I'm going to have my select, which we've seen in the other labs, ID of cat dropdown. That's different from the other labs. Name of cat dropdown, that's important for submission. And then I lied to you, there is one bit of JavaScript. There will be an onChange there. And for right now, I'm just going to put onChange equals, and then I'm going to close my select there. And then for what goes in the select, we'll go and grab some PHP that we did in another file. But for right now, we'll come outside of that div. Down below, we're going to create another div. Sometimes I don't like Dreamweaver's help. This one's going to be an ID of img container. Now this is your div that's going to hold all of those images inside of it. And so we just need the open and close there. I'm going to go ahead and put a closing mark here because there will be a little bit of code in between the open and close. And now we've laid out most of our HTML. We're ready to get into some PHP here. But before we do that, let's go ahead and come up into the head tag and lay out some styles. So we'll do style type equals text CSS. And then we're going to do one for nav. So I'll do #nav. We're going to do one for cats, which is our categories. So I'll do #cats. One for our h1, no $sign. I'm going to do one for the image tag. Do one for #image container. And that'll be it. So now let's look at the CSS here. For our navigation, or what I put as nav, we're going to put position absolute, top of 55 pixels. And again, I came to this with mostly trial and error, deciding where I wanted it on the page. Left of 100 pixels and width of 310 pixels. We'll move on to cats for the categories. This one's going to be position relative. With a top of 10 pixels and a left of 155. On to the H1, we'll do a text align center. Width of 480. Font size 14 point. Margin of 5 pixels. And padding of 5 pixels. And I just realized my text is awfully small. Wrong drop down. So next we'll do the image tag and then image container. So the image tag itself doesn't have too much. Image container has a little bit more. So for the image, we'll do a border of 0 pixels, margin of 2 pixels, padding of 2 pixels. Then for the image container, I'll lay it out like this. We'll do a width of 800 pixels. Again, the image container contains all the images that all the thumbnails that we put in there. So I'm going to do a width of 800 pixels, a height of 475, overflow set to auto. That puts the scroll bar in there for us and hides overflow. I'm going to position it absolutely with a top of 150 and a left of 20. I'm going to put a border around it so that we can tell definitely where it ends, and also because I'm going to put a drop shadow on it. 1 pixel border, solid line, and I'm going to make it black. And then lastly, I'm going to do a box shadow on it. I'll do an RGBA. Inside of the RGBA, I'm going to choose a shade of gray. That shade of gray is going to be all 170s. And then I want an opacity of 75%, so it's a little bit see-through. Outside of that RGBA, I want to do an offset, a 7 pixel horizontal offset, a 7 pixel vertical offset, and then I want a blur of 20 pixels. And so we'll look at that here when we load it. So now we've kind of positioned things on the screen. Let's go ahead and push that up to the server and have a look at it. So I've saved that file, my image gallery beginner. I'm going to push up to the web server. I'm going to make sure that I'm in that right folder. And I need to go to img gallery _ beginner.php. And so this is what we wind up with. And so this is our image container, the div with the, let's come back, so this is showing over here. Here's our image container CSS. We put a border of 1 pixel solid and black. Our box shadow down here is showing around the edges. If you put 0 and 0 here for the offset, you would see this shadow all the way around all 4 corners. So the 7 pixels says move 7 pixels horizontally and 7 pixels down, and then place the shadow. So that gives it a nice 45-degree angle drop shadow look. We've got our H1 centered here inside of this larger div that does not have a border, and our categories positioned relative inside of that, just below the header there. And then our image tag, we don't have an image on the screen yet, so we haven't done that. But we're done with our CSS for our layout. Now we're ready to start looking at the PHP and actually getting things placed into the gallery here. The first piece of PHP we're going to look at is the same thing we did for the drop-down menu on the image upload assignment. So actually what I'm going to do is open up, I'm going to go to my desktop and DB upload resize. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to open it up in Dreamweaver. And these pieces that in that lab I marked off with some asterisks, so it makes it a little bit easier if you did that as well, for you to identify what we need. So I'm actually going to grab this from open PHP to close PHP out of DB upload resize. It's got a SQL equals, result equals, and then an if-else statement right here. I'm going to copy that little piece. It's after the h1 in this file, and that's where I want to put it in this file. So I'm going to come here, and after the h1, I'm going to paste that in. Now it was in a different location on the other file, but we need to include OpenDBCon. So I'm going to use the include command, and I'm going to look in the includes folder. And make sure that we include that file there. Likewise, since I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and place the close dbcon at the bottom, and that way we'll be done. I'm going to put it actually inside of here. So inside of my image container, I made an open and close PHP set. And so the last thing in there is going to be close dbcon. So now I've got my open and close that match up there. And what we copied here, what you need should pretty well match what was in the other file. So we actually want to select category ID and cat name from gallery category. You want to make sure that says gallery category because that's what we're using on this assignment. The result equals MySQL, the if else here. There are some small changes for the newer version of PHP, but it's something I can easily list in the comments for switching to MySQLi. It's not a big difference. Once we have that, let's go ahead and save that and have a look at what's happened. So let's push it up to the server again. And this drag and drop, it works well for these videos. We could very easily set it up in Dreamweaver where you just click the push button. And so actually it looks like I don't have anything. Oh yeah, because I haven't put anything inside the select. So we don't have a page crash, which is good. The next part. Inside the select, let's come back to DB upload resize. And inside of the select here, you'll see that highlight from the open and close select, and we want everything that's in between there. So I'm going to grab that open and close PHP all the way to that closing PHP. You'll notice there's a subset there. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to put it in the same place. Here's the open and close select. I'm going to paste it inside of the open and close select. And now what you have there is pretty close to what we need to begin with. So we need our for loop, I equal to 0, I less than num results, increment I each time, row equals, pass it the result, option value. This is just going to place the value equals and the actual name from the database. So we're grabbing row category ID here, row cat name here. We're using trim on both to get rid of any excess white space after those. And now let's save that and push it up again. So now I've got this populated, and if I choose one, nothing happens at this point. That's that small piece of JavaScript that we need to go back and put in place. Now there's one thing that I want to put in there, and that's at the top I want there to be all. So I'm going to come back here, and this is just going to be hard-coded. We don't need to do it in PHP. So just inside the select, we'll put an option. Value equals the empty string, the word all, and close option. So now when we save that, that one's going to be listed at the top there. I push that up to the web server. And refresh. Now I've got all at the top. And now what I want to do is be able to flip between those. So it's not going to, you're not going to see the difference if I do the flipping between right now. So I think what I'll do is wait until we get the image container part done, and then we'll come back to how we handle the submission to the same page and making it so that it shows just that category. So we're going to jump down here now and work inside of image container. Now this part's not anything that we can go and, for the most part, copy from something else that we've done. I am going to make some space so that I can bring this up a little higher on the page. So inside of image container, the first thing that we need to do is select the images. So we're going to proceed as though we're doing all of them because we're not including the drop down at this point. We'll do that last. So I need a SQL statement. And we'll do a select star from gallery image. There we're going to use result and the if else once again. So that little piece I can grab. I'm going to scroll up here just a little bit. And these lines right here, result equals, and the if else for num results, I'm going to copy those. And I'm going to come down here. So I set result equal to that SQL query. And then I check to see if the result is empty or not. And then below that, we're going to have a for loop. So the structure of that for loop is the same as the one above. It's for I equal to 0. As long as I is less than num results, increment I each time through the loop. Inside of that, we need that same row equals. So I'm going to grab that from up here. We could have grabbed that for loop, I suppose. Now there's going to be a lot more times that that this particular for loop executes, because there's a lot more images than there are categories. So inside of here, let's start by just getting the image displayed. So we've got the row. The next thing I'm going to do is end the PHP there, and I'm going to come down here and begin the PHP again, so that in here I can do an image tag, and I'm going to do source equals, width equals, height equals, alt equals, title equals. For this exercise, I'm going to set my width to 160 and my height to 120. I'm going to leave alt and title empty. And then for the source, this is where we intersperse a little bit of PHP so that it pulls it from the database to get that source. So in between those two double quotes, I do open and close PHP. So you can see that there, open and close PHP. Inside of there, we're going to echo out the location and the image ID. So I'll do an echo with a semicolon after it. And inside of the echo, we're going to put, we're using the thumbs folder slash, and then after that double quote there, I want to concatenate with the row, square brackets, for image ID. So when we look at this, we've got our echo that starts here and ends here. We're concatenating the word thumbs slash with the image ID. If you remember, the way that I made my image IDs was that the image ID was actually the file name. And they're listed there, but I'll go and select my database, gallery image. So my image ID here is actually the name of the file. Now, what I want are the thumbnail images. So if I come into the thumb folder, you'll see that all of these images are preceded by th underscore. But if I go here, none of the image IDs have th underscore. So what I need to do is in code, add that th underscore, and I can see a mistake already. My folder is named thumb, not thumbs, so I'll get rid of that s. And after the slash, I'm going to do a th underscore. That's still inside of the double quotes there, and concatenate that with the image ID. So that should point it to the thumb folder, the thumbnail image for that. And now what I want to do is go ahead and save it, and we've done a decent amount right here. So let's go ahead and save it, push it to the server, and see what we've got. So here's where I was with a blank div here. Let's go ahead and refresh. And now I've got all of these images loaded in with a scroll bar. And again, the scroll bar is the overflow of auto that's there. So now we've got all of them loading. The next thing is to be able to distinguish between each one of these categories that are here. So the first thing we need is to resubmit the page. To resubmit the page, we come up here to the opening select and we have an onChange event. And in that onChange event, that's going to be some JavaScript. So I do a JavaScript colon, and then I'm going to write one line of syntax that's going to submit the form onChange. So I'll do a document dot get element by ID. It is case sensitive. Inside of those parentheses there, we need single quotes, not double quotes, single quotes, because they're nested inside of the double quotes. We want to write form 0 because form 0 over here is the ID for my form. Outside of the parentheses, we need to do a dot submit with parentheses after it and ending in a semicolon. Again, that whole line is case sensitive. Make sure that you have single quotes nested inside of the double quotes out here. Make sure you've got your parentheses. Make sure it ends in a semicolon. So now, without doing anything else, let's go ahead and upload it again, and we should actually see the page flash as it refreshes. So let's refresh it once to get our new code that's there. And now the images are not going to change, but you should actually see a quick change, particularly up in here. So if you saw all of that, that's a little bit better. If you scroll a little bit and you choose this, you'll see that it reposts and it sets the category back to all, which is the top one that's listed. So now we have our submission that's working. But once it is submitted, we actually need to know which one was chosen. So we've got to grab that when it comes back to the page. So I'm going to come all the way to the top here inside of this doc type tag and do an open and close PHP set. And I'm going to put an if-else statement up here. And what I'm looking for in the if is if cat dropdown is empty. So let's scroll down just for a little bit. Remember, the select name is cat dropdown. So the select name is cat dropdown. We're using a method of post. We're sending it back to the same page. So we're going to say if empty $_post cat dropdown. If it's empty, then we're going to create a variable called cat ID and set it equal to the empty string. But otherwise, we want to set cat ID equal to the value that was posted. So that's the little piece that we're going to put up here at the top, that if-else statement. Excuse me. This particular if statement here, I'll put a comment after it. This is the first time the page loads. Cat dropdown will be empty. This is subsequent page loads. You want to retrieve the selection from the drop-down menu. So this is what we call a boundary case. The first time somebody comes to the page, this is going to happen. But every time after that, this is going to happen. So we'll come down here, we have our all, we're listing all of these, and then you're not going to see a visible change from what we just put at the top of the page. We could put an echo, and that would show you a visible change. The best thing for us to do is now, once I've selected furniture, let's say, when the page reloads, I want furniture to still be selected, and that's not happening. And that would be the best visual representation for you to see that this code is working like it should. So I've got up at the top this cat ID that I'm grabbing each time. And so if I select furniture, it's going to come into the else, and it's going to set this variable cat ID equal to furniture. So when I come down here, what I want to do is check and see if cat ID, which was posted from the previous page, is equal to this category ID within the for loop. So within the for loop, it's going to first be accessories and then fixtures and then furniture. And when those two meet, when those two match, that's when we want to put a selected equals selected into this option tag. So that's what we're going for. So in this option tag, between option and value, I'm going to open and close another set of PHP. Now we had already done this from the other page. We're not going to touch it. All of this off to the right. We've interspersed some PHP inside of the value equals, and then we intersperse some PHP inside of the open and close option tags. We're not going to touch that. We are going to add this open and close PHP in between option and value. And what we want to do there is put in an if statement. So I'm going to go ahead and move that down to the bottom there, down a little bit. And I'm going to put an if statement that says if cat ID is equal to this right here. So I'm going to grab the whole thing, including trim. Make sure you get that the correct parenthesis there. And I'm going to put that after the double equals. So if the category ID is equal to the value that we are currently on going through the loop, that is when I want to echo selected equals selected. Here's another place, it's a single equal sign. Here's another place we are nesting single quotes. And it's just straightforward PHP, or straightforward text. You're not concatenating anything in there. So it's selected, single equal sign, we have single quotes, and the word selected again. For this particular case, the way it's laid out, it should be fine. I'm going to use a set of curly brackets before and after it. So if it looks a little bit better for you the way I normally do it, we can do it this way. That looks a little bit better for you. But you can see now that the option tag starts here and it ends way down here. So we added this section right in here. And now let's save that and push it back up. I'm going to refresh the page. Actually, I'm going to highlight it and hit enter so that I get a fresh load. So I'm not resubmitting anything. And now the hope is that when I select something different, it stays selected. You should still see the refresh. So let me scroll some, let me choose household items. It refreshed, but it stayed there. So what I selected stayed there. That's what we want. So the next part is actually reducing the number of images each time that we select one of those. For that, we come down to the image container. The reason all of the images are being selected every time is because of this select statement right here. So what we need to do is place that select statement into an if-else structure. And what we want to do is say if cat ID is not equal to the empty string, do one thing, otherwise select all of them. So that select all is going to go on the bottom. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it into here, and then we're going to add a where clause. So if cat ID is not equal to the empty string, we want where category ID, and again this right here, category ID, needs to match your gallery image category ID. I've got a lowercase c, capital ID, equals single quote, single quote. Now we've got to do some concatenation here. So that's a text value. We've got our single quotes. To do our concatenation, we do double quote, inside of those, period, period, inside of those, $ cat ID. So now we've concatenated that in. With that, we'll go ahead and push it up again. Now, hopefully, I'm going to highlight this, hit enter, so I get a fresh page load. We've got all selected. Let me choose accessories. You'll see it reduces to those. Fixtures, it changes. Furniture, it changes. Household items, it changes. All, it goes back. So that's what you should have so far. The last thing we're going to do is put a view, edit, and delete under each one of these images. For that, we're going to be working inside of this for loop at the bottom. You'll see that there's the image tag there. What we want to do is put a div tag around that image tag. Now you're probably saying to yourself, well, if I put a div tag around that image tag, the div is going to create an automatic line break, and you are correct. You are correct. So as it is right there, if I just save that just to show you, so now they're going straight down like that, and that's not what we want. The way to remedy that, of course, is with CSS. So I'm going to put an inline style. You could put this up above if you want, but I'm going to place it here. What's going to fix that is a float left. So when we do float left, it's going to let those align next to each other the way that we want. I'm going to also add a text align center and also a padding bottom of 20 pixels. And that's basically so you can distinguish between or make the text of view, edit, and delete appear as though it goes with the image above rather than the image below. Below the image tag here, but inside of that div that we just created, I'm going to put a line break, and then I'm going to put the words view, edit, and delete. The way I'm going to list them is like this. So I'm going to put view, then I'm going to put a vertical pipe on the next line, edit on the next line, a vertical pipe on the next line, and delete on the next line. And that's mostly because once I add in the anchor tags here, it would scroll way off to the right. Now each one of these is going to be a hyperlink. So we'll do an ahref before and a closing anchor tag after. I could do without some of the help, Dreamweaver. So each one of them is its own reference. Now, these are pages that we have not created and we're not going to create for this video. Again, you can refer back to assignment 5 with query strings to see this build and then what to do afterwards. For this one, for view, I'm going to say there's a page called viewImage.php, but then what I want to do is put a question mark to begin a query string. Query strings begin with a question mark. ID equals. There's no single quotes here. It's just question mark ID equals. Similarly, for edit, I'm going to say that I'm going to create a page called editImage.php, question mark ID equals. And for delete, so they all have the same structure there. They would each go to their own page so that you can do whatever it is that you want to do there. If you know some jQuery, instead of sending this off to a different page, you could make it do a pop-up on the same page or something. So we've got view, edit, and delete. And then what we need is to intersperse some PHP so that we can get this right here. Down here. So we're going to do a just inside of that double quote there, right after the equal sign. We're going to do this. We'll put an echo with a semicolon. Inside of the echo, we'll do a trim. And inside of the trim, we're going to grab this row image ID and paste it. And so that's going to actually give us the image ID from the database listed as part of the URL. And something I see right here is that I need to add a trim. So I'm going to put trim around this, which I missed when I did it. I like that better. Put my space in the wrong place. So now what we need to do is duplicate this. It's the exact same thing, so you don't have to change it. So we're going to copy it. And again, it's right after the equal sign, before the double quote. Paste it in both of those. And now I'm going to save that. And what I should have is I've got that div. I've added the float left, so they'll be next to each other this time. And then directly underneath each one will be a link for view, edit, and delete. So let's go ahead and push that up. For each one of these, when you do a query string, on viewImage.php, you do a $_get image ID. On this page, you do a $_get image ID rather than post. And on this page, you do a $_get image ID. And that's how you'd grab the one that was selected. So we're back on this page. I'm going to highlight it. All of them are there. You can see we've got our view, edit, and delete. The important part here is if you look at the very bottom of the web browser, you can actually see the full URL. And you want to look at the right-hand side of it there where it says viewImage.php, question mark ID equals accessories1.jpg, question mark ID equals accessories1, accessories1. So it's the same. I go to the next image and it's accessories10. I go down an image and it's, wait for a second, it's accessories4. If I choose fixtures, it shows only the fixtures, and I mouse over the delete, and it says deleteImage.php ID equals fixtures10. If I go to furniture, it displays only the furniture. We'll scroll down, and I'll mouse over this view here, and it's going to be furniture6.jpg. So you'll notice that you're pulling the specific ID of each one of these, and I go back to all, and I can view all of them. So that took us a little while, but that got us to our finished image gallery. And again, I'm calling this a beginner image gallery because we focus heavily on just the PHP and not doing much JavaScript with it. What I'd call an intermediate would be JavaScript page that does not refresh like we've been doing. And what I'd call advanced is JavaScript with some plugins included. So this is just to get a really good handle on how to use the PHP before we get into something more complicated like using JavaScript with it. So hopefully this serves you well.